Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Want to get a head start on those vegetables or flowers? Build a small temporary high tunnel greenhouse with some PVC pipe and a sheet of plastic. Also, ferns are a beautiful addition to the landscape, especially in the shaded areas. Today we're going to show you how to propagate them. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Peter Richards. Peter is our local gardener, and Kim Rucker will be joining me later. Hi, Peter. What are we going to do today?
We're going to build a small high tunnel greenhouse.
I like building stuff.
Yeah. Now, high tunnel greenhouses, you see them out in fields, and they're really big. You know, they can be 30 feet wide. You can build one that big. They're very inexpensive.
Okay.
Very simple to build. I've seen people report that you could build a 1,000-foot high tunnel greenhouse with 5 guys in one day.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So they're really
That's easy.
easy.
Yeah,
That's easy.
yeah.
And so I took that and I modified a little bit in my garden to give me a small greenhouse
Okay.
that I can start things in, or I've grown lettuce over the winter, keep things a little warmer that can't quite handle the hard freezes.
Okay.
And
So has it worked for you?
It
at
has.
home? Okay.
It's worked really well. In fact, my son really likes celery.
Okay.
And so he planted
Celery, okay.
he planted some celery. He'd eaten it all and then planted the root.
Okay.
And it did fine.
Ah.
Last winter when I had the greenhouse. This
Okay.
winter I didn't put the greenhouse on, and it hasn't been terribly cold yet, and the celery's dead.
Okay.
So yes, it worked.
So it worked.
It kept it alive. So what we're going to do is we're going to build here a 5-foot by 10-foot
Okay.
high tunnel greenhouse.
Okay.
And all it takes is a couple of PVC pipes, some U-bolts,
U-bolts.
sheet of plastic, and just a couple other little things.
Right. And 2 of us?
And 2 of us, yeah, and we'll have it done
good.
here in a couple minutes.
All right.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we have to measure out the space.
Okay.
Now, first I want to say though that typical PVC pipe that you buy at the big box store is 10 feet long.
Okay.
You can get them 20 feet long if you go to a plumbing supply store,
Okay.
which could be useful if you want to make one that's even wider. So if you do math,
Math. Yay.
you know that the circumference of a circle is the diameter of that circle times pi, so 3.14.
Right.
So in this case, we have a 10-foot pipe. We need to go roughly half a circle
Okay.
from one side of the ground to the other. But because we have such a small high tunnel greenhouse, if we build it like that, what we're going to end up with is right against the plastic on both sides, there's not enough height to plant plants. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it about 5 feet wide, and what that's going to do is that's going to force the tunnel to have more vertical sides so you can grow closer to the
Got it.
edges.
Got it.
So
Okay.
just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
let's go ahead and if you want to grab one of these, I've taken these are going to be our stakes, and we'll
Grab
see
one of
how we
those?
use them in a minute, but it's a piece of PVC pipe. These are 1-inch pipe,
Inch.
and the 1/2-inch pipe we're going to use over the top fits nicely inside this to hold it.
Okay.
So we're just going to use them for stakes to mark our size. So let's see here, where are we? Go ahead and back up some more.
Okay.
And whoop, right there.
Right there.
Okay, yep, go ahead and stick the stake. Doesn't have to go in a long ways, just enough that it stays.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
Okay. Now here, grab another one. And let's measure about 5 feet over here.
Get over. Okay.
That's good.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you wanted to, you could really work on making this perfectly square. But you don't really need to. So the other thing we're going to do here is let's go ahead and measure this way again. Oops.
Okay. Then we'll stop.
Okay, just lay it down right
Okay.
here.
All right.
And we got 10 feet, and we're gonna so we have 4 hoops on this. So we're gonna have 2 in the middle, so we have to do 10 divided by 3, which is about 3 1/3.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3 and 1/3 is roughly here or so, if you wanna do 3 1/3 that way.
Okay.
these 8 pipes that we cut came out of a single 10-foot piece of 1-inch PVC.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to go over here and just eyeball these
You know,
other 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
I'll
be
do the same.
perfect.
You got it?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that one.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to pound these into the ground. And we want to make sure they stay vertical, because if they're slightly out, it's going to make the PVC bend out. If they're slightly in, the PVC is going to, the pipe is going to go in. So we want to make sure they're pretty vertical.
Okay.
So I'm going to use, I have a sledgehammer, but if I hit this pipe, there's a good chance I'm going to break the pipe. So if I just put a piece of wood on top of it, it makes it so that I don't break the pipe. And
Not going in as straight.
it didn't go in as straight as I'd hoped, but just
It's just good soft
coax
ground.
a little bit more. That's good. Like running away on me. There we go. Okay. So that is our foundation.
Okay.
So now if you want to grab the end of that, and let's go over here and go ahead and slip your end in there.
Right. Right.
Okay, and then I'm just going to take this end and bend it down like this.
Hey. All right.
And there we go.
All right.
So we got to do that 3
works.
more times here. And when you're bending it, you don't want to like grab here and pull.
Yeah.
You kind of want to push it to create the bend. Otherwise you'll kind of pull your pipe out weird. So now each of these is by itself is pretty wobbly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going to have wind, and so you need a little bit more strength. So what we're going to do is put this across, and we're going to actually put it underneath
Okay.
here and bring it right up over. Okay, if you could hold that for just a
Yeah, I can
second
hold it.
here. And I have, to keep from punching holes in the plastic, I have little 1/2-inch PVC caps. So just put that on. You want to stick that on that side.
Okay.
And once again, no glue or anything. It's just there to keep it from putting a hole in the plastic. And then now I've got these U-bolts.
Ah.
This is what we're going to use to hold this cross piece to the, and I'm going to start over here so I make sure I don't run out of space.
Yes.
But it just goes on like that, and put the bolts
There you
on,
go.
or the nuts rather. Then I need to tighten it down enough that it's tight. If you had a very large high tunnel greenhouse, you know, if you had one that was 10 or 15 feet wide, you would probably want to have another couple of these just to hold it together.
Okay.
But because ours is small, we only need one. And I'm going to come back and use a tool on that, but let's just get the rest in place so that we know they fit. So yeah, it's very forgiving construction. You can fudge it a few inches one way or the other and it doesn't matter. And once this is all together with plastic on it and all that stuff, it's actually pretty wind resistant. And then you want to tighten it, because this is, like, if you see, I can move it. So we're going to tighten it with a wrench. Now you don't want to over tighten it because it's strong enough that you could actually crush the pipe. There's about 1 turn past finger tight. Now we've got plastic sheet here. It needs to be as long as the greenhouse, and then it has to get to the ground over there, plus probably a couple feet. Let's do about that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and spread it out over the top. This way. Okay, now there's 2 ways to secure this to the ground, because it's going to blow away if wind can get under it. So you have to make sure that it is, see right now it's trying to go.
It's trying to move. Yeah.
So we can take this 2x4 and we're going to just put it up against here and roll it like that. That'll hold it well. Now another way you can do it is, because this is a ground level greenhouse, you can kind of dig a little trench, put it in and cover it up with dirt, and that'll hold it as well. And then the ends here, all you do is just kind of gather it up and stick a cinder block on it. This is 6 mil plastic sheeting, which means it's 6/1000 of an inch thick. But it can be a little pricey, but you can go for thinner, but this will last longer.
Okay.
So you can get 1/2 mil plastic sheeting, which I don't recommend. It'll just get shredded quickly. But this 6 mil plastic sheeting, I have used sheeting like this for 2 seasons before it starts to break down in the sun. If you really want to be serious about this, greenhouse suppliers have 6 mil plastic sheeting that is actually UV resistant, so it'll stand up for more like 5 or 6 years in the sun.
Right.
And you know, it'll be cold at night, but because you are inside this where it has gotten warm during the day, it won't get below freezing.
Okay.
If you're in a very cold environment where you're worried that this actually will get below freezing, you can take a whole bunch of old milk jugs and fill them with water and put them in. And you don't have to fill them with hot water or anything like that. You just leave them in.
Okay.
And what happens is during the day, they warm up, they absorb the heat. And at night, they radiate the heat back out again.
Nice.
And it'll help keep your greenhouse a little warm.
Nice.
A little warmer. The other thing you have to be careful of is on a day like today where maybe it's 55 degrees, it might get up to 100 degrees inside. So you may need to come out and you can just take the cinder blocks off the back, fold the back up a little bit so you get some wind flow through there.
Let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, and that'll keep it from getting really hot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you could do something like this, and if you planted, you know, you could plant your vegetables or your flowers the way you want them. When it's all done, like when it gets warm enough that you don't need it anymore, you can take it apart, pull the stakes out, go put it in your garage for next year, and they just continue growing exactly where they are.
How about that? Yeah, just 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2
pretty
people
easy.
in, what'd it take us, 10, 15 minutes to do it? Yeah.
I think folks can handle that.
Yeah.
So thank you much, Peter. Appreciate that. Yeah, if it can grow celery, it can grow everything else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is mouse ear chickweed. It is a winter annual weed. It reproduces by seed, like soils that are high in nitrogen. And here's another valuable thing about chickweed to most. It is edible, so you can definitely eat mouse ear chickweed. If you want to get rid of it, if it's moist, you can easily just pull it up, or you can just use a broadleaf weed herbicide. Please read and follow the label. You'll be talking about ferns, right?
Yes.
Okay. What exactly will you be doing?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to do a fern propagation demonstration on how to get more ferns from your existing plants. Ferns are very ancient plants. They are vascular plants, so they do have roots and they do pull up their nutrients and water through a vascular system, which they're the first in the evolutionary chain that do that.
Wow.
So, but they do not have flowering parts or cones, so they're evolutionary less advanced. They do have 2 basic forms of the plant. You have the sporophyte, which is what you see out in the woods, and it's spore bearing, which is what sporophyte means. And then you have the gametophyte, which is in here, and if you can see, it's the little green mossy looking, it's not moss, but that is the gametophyte generation. Wow. And so in order to propagate these, you can either divide them by splitting them, wait till the crown splits, or some are have rhizomes, so you can split out the rhizomes. But what we're going to do is take the spores and propagate that way. So these are some immature spores on this plant. And the reason I know they're immature is because they're green. Okay. Generally, what you want to look for are either black or brown spores, and this usually is going to happen midsummer, late summer. Okay. So that's when you collect, and you can collect them and store them for a little while. What we do to collect them is you will cut off this piece, the frond, when it's ready, and then this is kind of what it looks like. It dries, and what you can do is take off the individual little leaflets or pinna, and I put them into an envelope and close it up and leave them in that way for a couple of days, and then I just kind of flick it like this, and the spores dry, the sori on the back, the little caps, dry out, and then they dehiss and the spores come out. And so what you will get down in the very bottom of the envelope, and it's very fine, which is good because they're wind-borne, and so in order in the wild in nature to get them, they have to hit the wind, and then land in a spot that's optimal for the growing conditions. What we will do once you get your fern, labeling. If you want to know what they are, because on these my labels are gone. So what I've done here is just put a number 1 several places on here, and then I'll have notes that I take that have the actual name written down, maybe the date that I started them and possibly where I collected them, Dixon Gardens or whatever. So, and then what you're going to do, so you can use any kind of basically clear container that has a lid, and what we will use is a sterile mix, and I'm using seeding mix, which is just peat, ground very fine with a little bit of vermiculite in it. It is sterile though. You don't want to use garden soil unless you sterilize it.
Right.
You can do that by baking it in the oven, and I don't recommend it because it really stinks. It's easier just to go by seed mix. You can get it at any nursery, big box stores. And so you put just a thin layer down in the bottom like this, and then what you do, and it also has no fertilizer in it. You do not want to fertilize it.
No fertilizer.
So no fertilizer. And then you take, this is
Vermiculite.
horticultural grade vermiculite.
Okay.
So you take a little bit of this, and vermiculite, one of the properties, and why we're using it, is because it retains moisture. So once the germination process of the spores starts, you don't want it to stop.
Okay.
And so what I do is just really sprinkle it to one side, like that, so you kind of have half and half. So then what I'm going to do is you take distilled water, again because it's been sterilized basically, and I will moisten it, and this is good also for people to see, because once the water hits the vermiculite, it kind of jumps. It's really kind of cool. So, but I'll just, you just kind of mist it a little bit. Once you get this going, you put the lid on, and you just can, you don't have to keep misting it unless it really dries out. But the lid on it, the condensation will just keep it moist.
So you don't have to put that much water, just as long as it gets a little moisture.
Just a little moisture in there. And what I kind of do is make sure that you can kind of see where the moisture is showing up, because it gets darker. So then what you do is you just take your little spores. I'm going to pull the other pieces out that have the sori on them, and then you will basically, I'm going to take it and just drop it in there like this. And it's, like I said, it's a very fine dust, and the only way you really know you got it is it's gone out of your, it's, also if you're really wanting to keep certain species or cultivars separate, I suggest doing them one at a time, because they are very fine and they will blow. And I've done in the wind, and so you'll get cross-contamination. So do one set and then get rid of those, and then do your next ferns. So then you just put the lid on it, close it up like this, and put it in a window or a well-lit room. You want it warm, but you don't want direct sunlight on it. And what you should see, even within a short amount of time, are condensation droplets on top of on the lid, and then that's the way it stays moist. The next thing you need to do is go away on vacation for like 2 weeks, because at least before you check on it, because the first thing that people say is, oh, mine didn't work, I just came back and there's all this green stuff growing all over it. That's what you want. That's what you want. So like I showed you before, the green stuff there is the next stage of the plant. So this is the sporophyte, those are the gametophytes, and it's actually this little flat heart-shaped disc, and then underneath are the gametes, the male and female. And they get together, and the next thing you know, you've got little ferns like this. So the next thing you would do is to move them up, and I usually just, because they're still so small, I would just move them again into germinating mix. I don't usually put plants that I'm going to put out in the garden in perlite, in a mix that has perlite. And then once that grows on and you've got your plant is more established, then I would maybe put it in a bark-based mix and grow it on a little bit before you plant it. But you do have to be patient, like I said, because these were started about a year ago. So it takes about a year to get them to this point. And it's different for different ferns, but that's your basic. Once you get them up like this, you can start slowly you know, you can take the lid off to check them, and then you can kind of pull the lid like this. You want to gradually expose the new little fern to dry air.
Okay, I
So
got
you may need to pull the lid off and then mist it a little bit, and then gradually, maybe over
Open
a
it
week
up
to
a
2
little
weeks,
more.
you can open it up more, and it gets used to being out in the bright sunlight.
Okay.
But that's fern propagation.
That's fern propagation.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. We
You're
appreciate that
welcome.
demonstration. All right.
When you buy plants at the store, you get a lot of these little tags, and they have really good information on them, but it's really easy to lose them. So here's an idea for how to keep track of them through the growing season so you can go back and reference them. So the first thing you do is you just have a little hole punch, and you can just punch a hole through each tag. And then once you have a hole in them, you can go ahead and take a ring. You could take a key ring. This is a binder clip or even a paper clip, and you can just put them all on this ring. And now you have them all in one place and organized so that when you want to go back and reference what you planted and what it was like, there it all is.
So here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
These are great questions. Can't wait. All right, here's our first viewer email. I like this one. I'm thinking about requesting a garden plot at the Shelby Farms Community Garden because my home vegetable growing area is small. I won't be able to check on it every day. Can you recommend some vegetables to plant in a community garden that are easy to grow and low maintenance? And this is Jill from Germantown, Tennessee. So Peter, easy to grow and low maintenance
Yeah.
vegetables. So what do you have in mind?
Well,
for Ms. Jill?
Yeah. Well,
like
most vegetables and most things you can grow in the garden, if you go every 3 or 4 days, that's often enough. The things that you need to, the reason why you need to go more frequently is because how long is it going to take the bug or the disease
Right.
to really blow up in your garden?
Right.
And also how often do you have to check it so that you can harvest it before all of it goes over the hill?
Okay.
And so those are the two
Good
things
points.
I'd look at. But if you go every 3 days, you can pretty much do any vegetable because you could just keep in mind, you know, for instance, on a tomato, you might want to pick it before it's at the peak of redness because when you come back in 3 days, it might be too red and you'd have to throw it away. So you might want to pick a little early and a little smaller for some things. But the number one vegetable I'd say is peppers
Peppers, yes.
because very little disease problems.
Yes.
Bug problems, anything like that. And also there's a huge harvest window on those because you can harvest them from green all the way through red, and sometimes that's several weeks long. Now, let's see, bush beans would probably be good because bush beans come out all at once. So rather than pole beans that kind of have their harvest spread out over a long time, you do bush beans where you can harvest it all and you pretty much have it all at that point. You don't have to worry about it again. Onions, carrots, lettuce, pumpkin if you have space.
Okay.
Pumpkin has a huge harvest window because you can months long.
Okay. That's good.
I'd avoid watermelon and cantaloupe
Okay.
just because it has that narrow harvest window.
Okay.
So, you know, watermelon, when it's done, you better pick it or it's going to start fermenting inside pretty quick.
Okay.
So I'd avoid those, but that's what I think.
Oh, that's some pretty good choices. Yeah, because you threw in some warm season veggies. You know, your leafy greens would be something to grow. And then he mentioned some warm season vegetables as well.
Yeah.
And something else, my mom did this once. We had a community garden growing up,
Okay.
and we had a problem where we had some large animals, namely humans, that would take our stuff. So what she did is she went out and she took flour and spread it around like she was dusting for insects, and then put up a sign that says danger.
Oh gosh.
Danger, like dangerous pesticide or something like that. Nobody touched it.
Nobody touched it. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
It's just flour,
That's
just
smart,
wash it
Mom.
off. And, yeah.
Pretty smart.
That's smart, very smart.
Yeah, don't give folks too many ideas. Yeah, they might like that one.
Yeah,
No, that's
I
pretty
like
good.
that myself.
That is pretty good. So yeah, Miss Jill, I hope you get that garden plot. And yeah, guess what? You can come to the extension office here in Shelby County, and we have publications.
Yeah,
books.
publication on how to grow vegetables, how long it take, normally for the harvest.
Right.
The harvest period. So
Yeah, I call it the ultimate cheat sheet.
Yeah,
You
we
can't
had
go
that all
wrong
the
with it.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
come see
good.
us.
Just keep a date when you plant it and the date when it's harvested. You got it right there.
That'll do it. Come see us, Miss Jill. We would be happy to give you that publication. So thank you much for that question. All right, here's our next viewer email. I like this one too. I am not a dig in the ground kind of girl. but really want to grow my own veggies. What foods can I grow inside, and what do I need to do to it? And this is Audrey from Cordova, Tennessee. All right, Peter. She don't want to dig in the ground. She
Right.
wants to grow indoors. So what foods can she grow inside, and what does she need to do?
Well, it's really hard to grow anything indoors that's a vegetable. Anything that has a fruit is out.
Okay.
You're not going to get enough light.
Okay.
I would say if it's going to be indoors,
Okay.
you have to do it
It's
inside.
indoors, all
You'll need to be in a sunny window. You can probably grow spinach and lettuce, leafy greens, possibly some herbs, and you can probably make that work in a window.
Yeah.
I would recommend, though, if you're wanting to grow, tomatoes, peppers, things like that, get a couple of containers and just put them right outside your back door.
Okay. Okay.
And that way you don't have to go far. It's not like you have to dig in the ground.
Sure.
But you can just have a 3, 4, 5 gallon container, put a pepper in it, and now you have peppers. So that's the way I'd go.
I do like that. I do like that. And of course, you can't grow a lot of herbs indoors. Cilantro comes to mind, dill, parsley, basil.
Basil,
which you can
inside,
grow,
yeah.
Inside, south-facing window. It does need, a lot of sunlight.
Leafy greens.
Yeah, leafy greens
You
are
can
easy.
do it. Probably do
Microgreens,
inside on the windowsill. Yeah.
Ah, that'll be good, Audrey. So good luck to you. Thank you for the question. All right, Peter. Well, good. That was fun. Thank you much.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. Today we show how to build a high tunnel greenhouse in a ground level garden. At familyplotgarden.com, we have instructions for building one in a raised bed. We also have lots of videos about planting all sorts of vegetables. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.